tells you when you're starting a corporate job, but success has very little to do with actually doing your job well. There are unspoken rules, and autistic people are expected to learn them without being taught and punished when we don't. Clarity is not valued. In corporate environments, asking for clarity is often seen as incompetence. For autistic people, clarity is how we do our best work. So we're put in a double bind. Ask questions and be judged, or guess and risk being wrong. I remember I worked a corporate job a few years back, and every time I would ask my manager for clarification on when she would ask me to do something, I was often told, this should be common sense, you should know this. When really, I just need more clear and direct directions. You know, I can't read someone's mind or pick up on unspoken rules, as I've talked about before. And so, yeah. My choices at that job were either to ask for clarification or get, that would mean I would get yelled at because I don't get common sense, or guess what I need to do and possibly screw things up and get in trouble. So at one point, that's actually what I did. I guessed, I assumed what I was supposed to do, and I got it wrong. And then I was yelled at by my manager and threatened with write-ups. So it's like, what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to ask questions? But if I ask questions, you get mad. Oh, here's the thing. My manager at this job, she would, when I would screw up and I would guess and I would do whatever it was I needed to do wrong, she'd be like, why didn't you ask me questions? And in my mind, I would be like, because if I asked you a question, you would yell at me and tell me that I don't get common sense. So it's like, you couldn't please anyone, It's like, either you ask questions or they judge you and they yell at you because you don't get common sense, or you don't ask questions and then you possibly get in trouble. So it's like, you can never please these people in these jobs. You know what I'm saying? Tone matters more than content. Autistic communication tends to be direct, honest, and efficient. I remember at that same job where my manager would yell at me for not knowing common sense, she would come up to me and ask me if I performed a certain task that I was supposed to do. And I would tell her yes. But because I'm autistic and my facial expressions don't always match up with what I'm trying to communicate verbally, she assumed that I was lying to her. And she would be like, well, by your facial expressions or by your gestures, by your nonverbal cues, it looks like you didn't do it. And I'm like, no, I actually did it. You can check and see, And it was like things like that were just frustrated, where I was not taken at what I was actually trying to communicate with my words, versus being perceived based off of what my facial expressions or nonverbal communication was saying, when those weren't exactly matching up. And, I appreciate when people go off of my words, not what my face or my body is telling you. The temp to hire job that I was at, where they later decided to not offer me a permanent position, part of the reason for them not offering a permanent position that was told to me was that the manager was a little bit concerned as to how I was communicating with vendors over email. The only thing I could possibly think of that may have been a concern is because my communication style tends to be more direct as an autistic person. I come in there and I say what I need to say. I ask for what I need. I tell them what I mean. I don't sit there and sprinkle in the small talk garbage of, hi, Mr. Jones, I hope your weekend was great. How was your son's baseball game or whatever? No, I don't do all of that. I'm like, hi, Mr. Jones, I need this from you, please, and thank you. I don't do that bullshit. And that is oftentimes seen as rude by neurotypicals. I don't get that. Why is it that it's rude when I choose to be efficient and come in and ask for what I want instead of waste time trying to make small talk at the beginning? Visibility is currency. Not enough to just do your job well. You have to be seen doing it. You have to speak up. You have to perform engagement. This favors people that are more outgoing and are more comfortable with self-promotion and with constant social interaction, something that a lot of us autistic people, unfortunately, are not comfortable with. I've found that I have been at a disadvantage at some jobs because I'm not outgoing, because I'm socially awkward, and I prefer to just stay at my desk, keep to myself, and do what I have to do. do my job duties, do everything that's outlined in my job description and nothing more. But unfortunately, it's like I missed where it was put in my job description that I need to be social with everybody. Because, you know, a lot of us are reprimanded by our bosses. You know, we would love to see you be more chatty with your coworkers and participate in the water cooler talk. Or we would like to see you attending after work happy hours with everybody. You know, when we're already exhausted by the end of the day, we just want to go home. We don't want to go to some bar and spend time with our coworkers that we don't need to spend time with. You know, emotional labor is expected but unpaid. You're expected to manage other people's emotions, agreeable, to absorb discomfort, to smooth things over. For autistic people, this emotional labor is often overwhelming and invisible. Safety is conditional. Corporate safety is often tied to perception. Doing well at your job, but still feel like everything can disappear overnight. That type of instability is especially hard for autistic nervous systems because we often need predictability. If you've ever felt like you were missing a manual that everybody else got, you were. You weren't failing, you were navigating a system that relies on unspoken rules. You deserve work that doesn't require constant self-betrayal. If this video helped you put words to things that you've experienced, I just want you to know that you're welcomed here, and I would love it if you subscribed. I post videos weekly about autism and work. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.